Okay, everyone, welcome, and we're going to get started. My name is Kate Matthews-Bray. I'm the Senior Associate Director of Alumni Relations here at William Patterson University. Thank you for joining us for this virtual event, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this afternoon's webinar, LinkedIn Tips and Tricks. This webinar will help you learn new ways to be engaged and connect with others on the platform. Whether you're an active job seeker or looking to grow within your current career, LinkedIn can help showcase your expertise, skills, and qualifications. I'd like to take the opportunity to acknowledge my colleague, Jenna Villani, Executive Director of Alumni Relations, who is also with us today. Jenna, please feel free to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Kate, and hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. We're really pleased to have you with us, and we're pleased to provide many ways for you to stay connected to William Patterson and your alumni community through in-person and virtual opportunities. So I encourage you to take advantage of the many programs and activities that we offer, such as the virtual book club, networking opportunities, lifelong learning opportunities, career development programs, and more. So with that, I'll turn it back to Kate. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenna. If you're looking for additional career resources, I encourage you to sign on to Handshake, where you can browse job postings, attend virtual webinars, access career workshops, and more. Members of the most recent graduating class have access to the full resources of the Career Development Center up to 1 year after graduation. I also encourage you to join the official WP Alumni LinkedIn group to make connections and network with fellow alumni. Before we get started, I'd like to share some details on how today's webinar will work. First, upon entry, your microphones and videos have been muted. We kindly ask that you please keep your microphone muted during the presentation. We welcome questions and want this to be an interactive session. Please feel free to type in your questions in the chat box throughout the webinar, and we'll take some time to answer those questions at the end of the session. Please note that today's session is being recorded and will be available on demand on our alumni YouTube channel. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce today's presenter, Alma Diaz, William Patterson, class of 2011, Assistant Director of the Career Development Center. Alma, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be spending today with you a little bit to talk a little bit about some tips and tricks that you can kind of utilize to help you with getting active on LinkedIn, whether you are an active user or just someone who's passively kind of trying to get a little bit more active on the platform. LinkedIn is a great resource, whether you're actively on the job search or just, a professional that's looking to connect with others. It's a great platform, and I encourage everyone to become very, very active. So today, I really want to get a feel of who's in the room, but we want to kind of cover a little bit about the LinkedIn, kind of the website itself. So we'll talk a little bit about building that profile, and then some general tips that you might want to kind of think about as you're building that profile or modifying that profile. Because a lot of us, I know when you first start your profile, you might just have some basic things on there, but now you might be in a space where you might want to dedicate a little bit more time to elevate it, or you might want to start using some of the other functions as you're ready to take it to the next step. So I just want to check in with some of the folks that are here today. So I would like for all of you in the chat to let me know, how active are you on there? So if you're someone who's an active user, kind of give me a thumbs up in the chat. If you are someone who kind of checks it a little bit every so often, if I can get a wave, right? For those of you that don't have an account at all, let's get a thumbs down. No judgments here, so nothing wrong with having a thumbs down, but we're glad that you're here today. If you haven't got it started, we'll welcome you. So if you can add those to the chat so we can see who's in the room. All right, so we have some people that are active, some people that are, a little kind of check it here and there. And then we have some folks that haven't started their LinkedIn yet, but hopefully after today, you kind of get inspired to do so. All right. So we'll go, like I mentioned, we'll go a little bit over some basic steps of things that you should have in your profile, and then some things that we're going to help you level up for those of you that already have that profile going. All right. So overall, and most of you might agree with this, the workplace has changed. 93% of employees say that the way that we work has fundamentally changed forever. So with that being said, the way that we network, the way that we interact with people in our field and professionals in general has changed as well. So as we're going through this, we have to start thinking about new ways to stay connected to professionals, because walking up and down the hallways, commuting to work, on the bus, on the train, are not our normal ways of connecting with people anymore and building our networks. So now, you have to find a new platform that's going to serve that. And the great thing is that LinkedIn serves as that social media platform to do that. Whether you ever thought of it that way or not, it has always been there, but it has really showcased that this is truly the space, because now that we're not in our office every day, some folks are not going to work as often, or maybe are on a hybrid schedule, and they might be going into working with folks that they're not even seeing at all. Or how many of you, and you can put it in the chat, how many of you potentially have been going to work with people you might not have seen in person yet? You can share that in the chat if you like, but some of you might have that experience. So the workplace is definitely changing, so we have to start thinking about new ways to stay connected. So with that being said, for those of you that might be considering either moving up within your industry or just looking to switch or finding new opportunities, 85% of open positions are filled through networking. We do see a lot of jobs postings, and we see a lot of employment opportunities that are open, but the reality is that network is a big piece, and it still has not changed, regardless of how the work spaces have changed. The way that we have used networking as a way to be connected and find jobs as a part of that job search process has not changed at all. So the resume alone is not going to help us just be able to secure that job. It's a lot of other parts that go into that job search process. So the LinkedIn now becomes part of that process as well. LinkedIn allows us to, not only find an opportunity, but be able to build those opportunities for ourselves. And in the upcoming slides, we'll talk a little bit about different ways how you can make your own opportunity. So if an opportunity doesn't knock, build your own door, right? So how do you connect with people so that you're building and creating opportunities for yourself, where there might not be an opportunity right away, but you're setting it up where people know the skills that you have, so that when an opportunity arises, they think about you. So LinkedIn allows us to do that. And we'll talk a little bit about the different ways that you can customize your LinkedIn so that people are seeing those skills and the value that you bring to the industry. So getting started. So for those of you that haven't created a LinkedIn at all, or that have created a LinkedIn, but maybe haven't taken the time to really fill in all your sections, I do want to make sure that you do cover these simple things. So for one, you want to make sure that you have a email account that is one that you're constantly checking. So if you haven't already, you can always go back and change the email account that is attached to your account to make sure that is one that you're constantly using. I also advise you to use the app, so download the app so that you're constantly able to see any messages, notifications that you receive. Making sure that as you're building your new account, for those of you that are doing that you make sure that you're checking the settings so that you're not sharing all of your changes with your network yet. So you have the option to do that as you're building your profile. The great thing for those of you that are starting brand new is that it's very intuitive, LinkedIn. So you're able to go section by section and it prompts you as you go along. So today I didn't go, we're not going to take too much time into how to build it right away, because you really can just kind of go in and the sections prompt you. But we're really going to talk about more of the content of the little things you can do. But once you go in there, you do want to make sure that you have a picture, and this is really important. We find that, and there's data out there that recruiters, employers, they want to see that there's a picture of you and that you're intentional about the picture that you do select for yourself. So you want to make sure that it's a picture that is a headshot, that is clear, that it showcases you as you would look majority of the time. And I say this because sometimes if there's people that, for example, they wear their glasses all the time, then maybe they should take a picture with themselves wearing their glasses, for example, if they wear their glasses all the time. Versus, because sometimes we do that, right? We're like, oh, I want to take off my glasses. But if your glasses are a signature part of your look, right? Because you wear them every day, and that is part of who you are, then you would want to keep that because that's something that's distinctive to you. Other things is you want to make sure you fill out your profile, you add all your sections, and that you really take the time to fill out your summary. This is going to be important because people can look at this, get a little bit more information about you. It allows you to introduce yourself and share a little bit more about personal things, your interests, some skills, keywords could be put in this section. Other things, you want to customize your URL, and you're able to do this when you go into edit public profile, and you can edit your URL so it's not, a whole bunch of different letters and numbers. You can customize it where it could have like Alma Diaz or DSA and some shorter version of your name, so that it's easier for you to put it in your email, put it in your business card, or as you're sharing it with people, it's not a long URL. And sometimes, depending on your name, if it's more unique, it might still be available, or you might have to tweak it so it could be available to you. But that's something that LinkedIn allows you to do, that to customize that URL. You also want to make sure that you're adding new skills. So as you're gaining new skills, that you're adding those to your profile. And you're able to do that constantly as you're experiencing and learning new things. So this is what your home base would look like. You have some information here that's important, and I wanted to point out. Here's where you can post, but you have some where you can write some articles. Articles are important if you want to self-publish things. This is a way for you to do that. You can publish articles, videos, photos. You also have, when you join groups, events, you can host events, you can attend events, follow hashtags, it's all here. You also have some news, your feed, which is curated for you based on the things you follow, you like. And then all your tabs up here, your LinkedIn Learning, if it's attached to your account and it's attached to your profile, and some more information. But there's a lot of things that you can utilize here. And as we talk about these things, I do wanted to make sure that you knew where some of these functions are. When you're making edits to your profile specifically, you can go to your Me, and in there you go through your different sections to change some of those things. Things related to your job tab will go to this tab. And then if there's specific things that you want to search within those groups, events, hashtags over here, that these things are curating this feed. Now, going step by step, it will look different for you as you're going through the different sections within within your within the prompts as you're opening your first profile, but you have your picture, your header. Your header is important because it showcases who you are. A lot of people, when they first start off, they just want to default it to be their job title. You want it to be unique. You want it to stand out. You want it to be personalized to you, where your interests are. So really think about what are some of the things that represent you, because your LinkedIn profile is your professional brand. You, and it's beyond your job title, because you could be your job, but you can also have, you know, other parts of you. You could also be into photography that you do, you know, part-time, or you can have a passive, you know, another job that's providing you passive income that you're passionate about. You have other things that are part of your professional brand that you can also include in your header. And you can also find unique ways that as a recruiter, if I'm looking for, let's say, you know, a different, if I'm looking for a specific person, the things that you're putting in your header might help that person as you're searching for you to pop up on the job search. So think about creative ways that of things that describe you. So for example, for myself, if we go back to myself, I have higher education as a thing, a higher education professional, career matchmaker, career coach, people builder, because those are parts of the things that I do that are part of my brand. But for you, it might be something else, right? Depending on what you do. It's beyond just assistant director of career development, right? So think about those things for yourself. And also think about some of the things that you do beyond your 9 to 5 that are also representative of your professional brand. We mentioned already the summary, your experiences. You want to make sure you include your experiences, where you worked, how long you've been there, the organizations that you represent, your education, your volunteer experiences. Those are important to add those. Your skills are extremely important. Now, the great thing about the skills on LinkedIn is that you're able to have other people endorse them, and you want to encourage others to do that for you. So, and it even becomes even better when it's coming from colleagues. So every so often, you know, if you know someone that you have worked with, please encourage them to endorse your skills, because it's not just saying, hey, I'm a great project manager. It's someone else that's working in the field endorsing you that you have great project management skills. The same thing, you know, you keep the same thing with recommendations. If there's anyone that you have worked with that they speak highly of you, you can always encourage them to write a recommendation for you, because now that lives in your profile, and anyone that's ever is looking at your profile can validate that you are not just saying that you're good at something. There's someone else that is validating that for you. So these are different things that now employers, different people in the industry are seeing on your profile. So other things to consider within that profile is to make sure that whatever you have on your resume is matching that LinkedIn. So if you're someone who's actively searching for a job right now, that you make sure that it matches. The same thing, even if you're not an active job searcher, you technically should be updating your resume, you know, every few months, just because you don't want to wait until you need it right away to start thinking about all the things that you have been doing in your job that you're you know, you forget. You're learning new things, you're adding new skills, and you forget all those things that you've been working on. So make sure you're updating your resume every so often. And as you're updating your resume, you're also updating your LinkedIn. Also be mindful of your profile settings, which we mentioned. We talked about making sure that your headline is more than just your job title. We want to make sure that you're showcasing your expertise in that features section. So as part of your profile, you can also showcase artifacts. So things like articles, pictures. If you've been featured anywhere, you can add those and kind of like pin them to your profile so that people can see when they open your profile, they can see those things right away, like after your summary. You also want to make sure that you're utilizing that LinkedIn to grow your network. So we'll talk a little bit more in the upcoming slides about how you can do that. But you want to make sure that as you're meeting people at conferences, at events, even if you're chatting with someone at this webinar right now, and you want to connect with them at the next upcoming alumni mixer or event, make sure that you're connecting with them on LinkedIn. Also include a job entry even when you're unemployed. So you might be unemployed, but it gives you the option to add a job title, add whatever was your last job title on there, because again, the algorithm for recruiters is based on whatever you're adding there as your job. So if you don't have anything on there, you're not going to pop up. You want to make sure that you're popping up on searches as they're putting data analyst, that you're popping up on their search because of who your connections are, what you have on your profile, how active you are. So you want to make sure that you not only have these elements, right? So I don't want you to go home and say, well, I went to the webinar and I almost said I have to do these things and do them and then never go on LinkedIn again. No, you have to be an active user so that you're feeding the algorithm, right? So that people are seeing what you're doing, what you're working on. So you're connecting with people so that you're juicing it so that whenever you are actively looking, you're popping up on the top of searches when people are searching for someone that has your specific job skills or your qualifications or the job titles that you have or the job the job searches that you have saved. So having that, you also want to make sure that you're adding licenses, certification, projects in those perspective sections that I mentioned, and that you're adding keywords. Now, people are getting a little crazy with keywords now. So you want to make sure that if you are adding keywords, you're adding keywords, and what we mean by keywords are like soft skills, because you have the hard skills, right, which are kind of like very specific skills, like let's say coding, C++, Java, those are hard skills. But then if you're adding some of these other soft skills, leadership, management, all those other ones, that there are other things that are standing out more. So think about what are some of those soft skills. Take the time to ask your colleagues, your friends, hey, what do you think that I'm good at? Take a note of that. See what they say. Because every so often we'll find that sometimes there's things that we might be good at that we haven't even noticed that we're good at until someone else points it out. So be mindful of what your skills are, what do you offer, and take notes of that every so often. All right, and make sure you add to your profile. Now the job tool, once you have filled out your profile and everything looks good, make sure you take some time, whether you're actively searching or not, to go on the jobs tool tab. So if we go back to that home page at the top, we saw the little tabs. There's a jobs tab on there. If you are someone that is actively searching, you have the option to let people know that you're looking in two ways. You can either let recruiters know that you're searching, and that will only let recruiters know, people that have LinkedIn Recruiter, and know that you're actively looking for an employment. Or you have the option to let everyone, your whole network, know that you're looking to be hired. And that's when you'll see people's profile, and there's like a little thing on the side of their picture that says looking to be hired. Either of those options are okay if you're someone who's actively looking to be hired. I suggest you choose one of those. And sometimes people feel different ways about should they let their networks know that they're, unemployed or in the process. It's all about transparency. You want to let your networks know that you are looking to move on to the next, phase of whatever it is that you're doing, because you never know who might be in search of new talent. You want to definitely let recruiters know. So if you're still in your current job and you might be searching but don't want everyone to know that you're searching, then you can just have the option to just let recruiters know that you're searching. So if you want to be a little bit more discreet with your search, but either of those options are very good options to start your search. You also want to set some job alerts so that favorite some jobs, like some jobs, so that again, it starts picking up what are the things that you're interested in, what are the locations, the distance. And again, it starts building kind of that algorithm of the jobs that you would be interested in. You can also in that search bar add companies, job titles, the distance of how far you would be interested in looking for jobs, so that it starts building a profile for you and it starts suggesting jobs that would be of interest to you based on the things that you have added on there. So this is a great tool if you're actively searching, or if you're someone who just wants to know what the job market is currently, based on if you want to know what's the going rate salary wise for the same role that you're doing in different companies, things like that. You can also just go on there and look. The state of New York now requires jobs to list their pay ranges in their job posts. So now there's more transparency with salaries. So if you're just searching to know what the going rate is salary wise, this is a great tool also to get some of that information. Now, you also want to make sure, like I mentioned before, to really start utilizing LinkedIn for more than when you're just searching for a job. You want to make sure that this becomes like your contact list for professionals and as you're connecting with people, so that you're up to date with trends, the market, news that is related to the things that you're interested in. Because the reality is that at the end of the day, yes, LinkedIn is a social media platform, but it's a social media platform for the professional version of you, right? So you have the ability to curate your personal brand on here, but you're also able to connect with professionals within the industry that you're interested in. Unlike, your other social media platforms where you have family, friends, everything in between, here you're really creating it for work purposes and that professional brand. So you're able to follow industry trends, like I mentioned. You want to join groups. The great thing about groups is you're able to continue to network with people. There's an alumni group that you can join where you can stay connected to folks that are in this room and also meet new people. There's also professional groups for anything, people in their industry, different topics, different things of interest that, might come up for you. So you can always join those groups. Now, when you join those groups, there's different stipulations for different groups. So there's different groups that you have to be active in to be part of them. So you don't want to just join them and never say anything. You have to actually comment, interact. If not, they remove you from the group. So be mindful of that as you're joining some of them, what some of their membership guidelines are, and also about what things you can post. But you want to make sure that, you're aware of those guidelines and that you're staying active on those groups, and also that you use them as a way to connect with others. You can also attend events and you can host your own events on here. Again, a great way to stay connected. And you can also follow hashtags. So if there's things that are of interest to you, then you can start really seeing who are the other people, who are people that have a louder voice or a huge following. And the great thing about LinkedIn is that there's some people that are considered like public figures that you can follow them without necessarily having to be connected to them, or they having to accept your connection. And you can kind of see as they post about relevant things that are of interest to you. So once you do have those, they will live down here. And then you have your most recent ones. You can kind of follow the hashtags, the different groups. You'll see them often. And you can every so often you'll keep seeing them and keep connected to those things that are of interest to you. So it's a great place for you to kind of keep seeing what is important. Now, staying active, like I mentioned, when you do join those groups, you want to comment, like, and share. Now, unlike other platforms, being active on LinkedIn is not just about posting. Yes, posting is important, but active also counts, liking, commenting, and sharing. Those also counts as activities. So for the algorithm to keep juicing, the advice is that you, if you're an active job seeker, that you at least try to go on your LinkedIn twice a day, preferably during business hours, 9 to 5, which is when most professionals are active on there. So that you can engage with people, and that because every activity that you have, LinkedIn will share that with the people that you are connected with. And if you, for example, are an active searcher, the active job seeker, and you have that, looking for a job on your profile, for example, and you are liking and commenting and sharing, then your activity is being shown on the feed of your network. Then now, Joe that is searching for a new data analyst can see, oh, Alma's looking for a job. I didn't know she was looking. Let me send her a message. I have a job opening in my office. And that might be a way to connect, and it also feeds into the algorithm, and it helps again with when that recruiter or that someone who's looking for an employee is searching. You also want to, like I mentioned, follow companies, industry leaders to keep up to date. You have the ability to learn about new trends and skills through LinkedIn Learning, and just people talking about things that are changing. The job market, everything keeps changing and evolving, and you don't want to be left behind with what people are talking about. So this is a great way to stay up to date with that information. You also are able to publish articles, with things that are of interest to you. So if you want to contribute to what's being spoken about out there, and you're able to do that, you're able to publish blogs as well. So you're also adding value to what's already out there. And then, you want to continue to request connections. Just as you're interacting with people, you can connect with them and share how, you saw their article, or how you saw them commenting on X group, and how you would like to connect. So when it comes to posting, some tips about posting on LinkedIn, you want to make sure that it's easy to read, that you're encouraging people to interact, right? So LinkedIn has posted a lot of information about what are like high yield posts, what are like what they consider like spam, and what are low, that they're pushing more. So what a post that they're encouraging and that they'll share to a higher group of network are those that follow kind of these guidelines, right? So they're easy to read. They're encouraging a response, so they have a question, so they're more engaging. They use 3 or fewer hashtags. They incorporate strong keywords. You normally tag people who are likely to respond. And then you add, it's encourage that you add links that are outsourced, like links that are going to shoot them out of the LinkedIn page, add those to the comment section. Because, you know, LinkedIn doesn't want you to leave LinkedIn. So if you add that to your comment section, you know, it's gonna share that post more to your network. And then generally speaking, the best time to post, according to Hootsuite, on LinkedIn is at 9 a.m. at Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And these things might vary, but as of now, that is a time that they're suggesting. That is the best time for you to post on LinkedIn. And now, as you're engaging with folks on the platform, you want to make sure that you're, you know, being strategic about the connections that you want to build, that, you know, you add connections that are mutual interest to you and the person you want to connect with. So you don't want to go on like a connection frenzy of just wanting to connect with everyone. The great thing about LinkedIn is that it already gives you a little bit of an idea of like, oh, these are the people that you might know from working at this location. These are the people that you might have went to school with. These are the people you might have a second connection with. So it already gives you suggested connections, but then there's some other connections that you might want to be a little bit more strategic with. If you know that there's a company that you might want to work at, or if you're thinking about what would be my next move, where would I want to work? Thinking about who are the decision makers there, who would I want to connect with? So as you're thinking about that, ask yourself these questions like, whom do you need to talk to? What are they posting about, or what are they interested in? And how do you stay connected, and how do you share value to them, right? So be strategic about connecting with these folks. And if you can answer these questions for yourself when you're connecting with them, you know, sending that personalized message so you can answer these questions for yourself and introducing yourself so you can connect with them in a meaningful way. So the self-introduction formula really is, you want to introduce yourself, you want to personalize your message by telling people who you are and what you do, and understanding who your audience is. So why do you want to connect with them, and why would they want to connect with you, right? So what's that? Why would they want to do that, and why, and maybe what's the connector? So is it because they're William Patterson alumni and that's the connector? Is it because we're part of this group and I saw that you shared something, we have a common interest? Is it because I see that you have a nonprofit and I work at a nonprofit and there's some mutual interest there? Whatever that is, you want to make that clear in your messaging, but that you always share, you know, why you want to connect with them and you're introducing yourself. And this is kind of the formula. Now, when you're reaching out to people with like these cold messages, right? Because sometimes there's a connector, sometimes the connection is not that clear. You want to, it's okay if you message people and they don't respond right away. Some people might be like you, right? Where they're like the little wave where they have a LinkedIn, but they might not be as active. Or they might be very active, but they might not check their messages right away. Or another thing about LinkedIn is that if you're connected to them, it shows your messages in one area. But if you're not connected to them and they message you, it shows your messages in another area. So they might not be checking that area all the time. So be patient with people as you message them, and they might not message you right away. Be persistent, but also understanding that, you know, people are busy just as you are. So don't feel discouraged to connect with people as you're doing this, in understanding that if that person didn't reach out to you again, you can reach out to someone else. Now there's an alumni tool for those of you that want to connect with more alumni, or maybe some of your old classmates that you might have lost touch with. You can use this tool to connect with them. So you can go to the William Patterson LinkedIn page. Once you're in that page, there's an alumni tab right here. You can click in the alumni tab. Once you're in there, there's a search bar. You can find all of the William-Paterson alumni and where they work. You can search any company and it'll tell you all of the alumni that work there. Town, it's very descriptive, so you can find information about alumni, the companies they work, where they live, things like that. Well, not where they live, but areas of where they might be located. So you can connect with folks that you might have lost touch with, that you might want to connect with again. Or if you want to, if there's a specific company that you might want to connect with and you want to see if there's alumni that work there, you can see there's alumni that are currently holding positions in that company. You also could do this in reverse. So if there's a company that you're very interested in, connecting with, you can go to that company page. There's a People's tab, and in that People's tab, you can put in William-Paterson University, and then it will show you all of the alumni that have listed William-Paterson University as a place of work, and you can find folks that way. Now, as you're going through this process, it's really all about what you make of it. You have already some things that you can use to tweak your profile, to kind of elevate it to the next level, to get more involved, to kind of be more engaged. But overall, LinkedIn is a networking tool. So you want to make sure that when you're in there, that you continue to try to connect with people in a meaningful way. So you send out those personalized messages, that you share what you can often, and that when you do connect with people, that you do ask them questions related to the industry, because people do want to share, their expertise, but that you also stay authentic to yourself and your brand as you're connecting with folks, because we can all tell when people are not being their authentic selves. So we want to encourage you to continue to do that. And as you're building your brand on LinkedIn, that you connect with others, but that you still are, this is the professional version of your brand, but that is still your brand, right? Who you bring to the table, your skills, all the great things that make you, that you bring that you show that. So that, you bring that. Morgan, you have a question?
Yeah, I do, about that last point that you're sharing. I'm just curious about what guidelines there might be or resources that you might know of that helps you navigate how to be authentic without slipping into the unprofessional, and how to kind of know the difference.
So I guess it would be a case-by-case situation. The thing about LinkedIn is that when we talk about it being your authentic self, is in regards to what would you want, what would be appropriate for you in the workplace, right? So if it's something that you feel, my guideline that I kind of go with is, if something you feel that is something that this would not be appropriate maybe for the workplace, then it probably wouldn't be something that I would feel would be appropriate for this space. That's kind of has been my personal guiding light for this piece. But you can still be authentic to, for example, whatever are the things that are of your interest, right? So if there's things that you're passionate about that are part of your brand, then you still can be authentic. That could be part of who you are, if that makes sense. So there's students that feel very strongly about sustainability, for example, and that's part of, as they are looking for jobs, that's something that's important to them, then they have that as part of their hashtag. Environmentalist is part of their headline on their profile, because that's part of who they are, because it's part of their brand, if that makes sense. Okay, so we're gonna give me a thumbs up, but it's a base to base. So if you want to talk about it specifically offline, we can do that also, if you want some guidance on that. Okay. Any other questions?
Okay. If anyone has any questions, feel free to write them in the chat. We'll give you about another minute. Alma, any closing remarks?
Yeah, so the Career Development Center is definitely here on campus as a resource. Like we mentioned before, for students that are 1 year out of the university, you still have our services for 1 year for in-person appointments, but for anyone else that is past the 1 year out, you still have access to Handshake through for a lifetime. So if you have any issues locking on or want help and assistance with that, you can definitely reach out to our office and we can help you gain access to Handshake. So you can see that platform, and on there you can get assistance with your resume through the platform, and also see any of our other resources, events, and support that is offered through that platform.
Awesome. So I'd like to extend a thank you to Alma for sharing her expertise with us throughout today's webinar. And to our alumni, thank you for taking the time out of your afternoon to join us today. I hope you enjoyed the program, and I encourage you to remain connected with William Patterson. Have a great day.